Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green Australian-shaped globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. I'm your host, Mike. Yeah, there's a girl in Australia that's shaped just like that, Brooks. Just exactly. Anyway, she comes in here. Sometimes she's on this show. Maybe she's on tonight. I don't know. Welcome to Toxically Masculine Tuesday on Real News Live. I'm your host, Mike Barrett in Las Vegas, Nevada, joined as I am every Tuesday so far, the last 3 or 4, by the man to my immediate stage left, my physical right, or the other way around.
Oh, and he froze.
And he froze.
Everybody freezes.
Who's getting the storm? Who's getting the storm? Is it Brooks or Mike?
No, it's Mike's live again.
You staying out of the storms over there, Brooks?
Yeah. Well, I opened up my window so the whole world can hear it when it gets on top of us.
Can anybody hear me? See me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're good now.
All right. Fuck Cox Cable. I just want to say that again. Joined, of course, also now Brooks is frozen. Joined, of course, the man immediately below Dr. Brooks Agnew is TV's Blake Wally, intrepid reporter back from his nationwide travels. And, of course, speaking to us from, it looks like, strip club tonight. Hi, yeah. TV's Blake Wally. How are you doing, and how are the girls there at the club?
So far, so good. It's great to be here. It's a little early yet. They're going to come in a couple hours sometime after the show, so getting ready for that.
They just let you use the club. See, Brooks, Blake actually manages the club. Actually, that's not even true. He owns the club, the strip club, and he just uses it to broadcast from on TMT. It doesn't really open till like 11 o'clock.
Good Wi-Fi area. Surprising.
Yeah. All right. The fourth member of the team, the guy who's fuck Cox Cable, is Steve Doran, the trail boss somewhere in the Arkansas, the future governor of Arkansas. Steve Doran, how are you tonight, my buddy?
You keep demoting me. I'm going to be the senior U.S. Marshal.
The senior U.S. Marshal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some things to discuss tonight that are kind of a little, it's really bizarre because they're desperately trying to memory hole the fact that Donald Trump was almost assassinated 2 weeks ago. Yep. In fact, we found out this week that if you Google assassination of TR, it will say Truman, it will say Lincoln, it will say everybody except Donald Trump's name. It is bizarre the degree to which these people are they're limiting everything and are keeping everything from people's perceptions. But more and more information keeps coming out. One of the things I wanted to share is there were some photographs that were released today. And, guys, I don't know what to make of that, but it appears to me that these are windows in the building upon which the guy was on the rooftop. And if you look at some of the windows, there appear to be flashes, as in muzzle flashes, coming from these. And we also have some new information. To the extent that, let me see if I can find this. Yeah, go over to my likes. There also appear to have been some radio chatter that was overheard to the effect of talking about that there were shots or there was someone in the building. Let me switch over to this video and let's play it and listen just for a couple minutes.
Okay.
I forget his name.
So you began this conversation saying something about a second shooter.
Yeah, because when we were first ducking behind when they moved us all from the back of the AGR building, and Homeland Security and the other guy with the long gun moved us over to the township police car to take cover there. The door was open and we could hear the radio communications, and they said shooter dead on the roof, and then they said we breached the building, there's blood in the bathroom, second shooter on the loose. So because like if the guy climbed the building and shot from there, like how was there blood found inside of a bathroom inside that building?
Okay, so that is the essence of what they're talking about. I just want to get this from Brooks and Steve. Steve, I actually want to start with you. What do you think about this? This is a new development. Does it make any sense to you? And if there's blood in the bathroom, that implies somebody's inside the building, not on top of the building, doesn't it?
Yep. That means that an active shooter could have been using one of the windows inside while his FBI buddies in there covered his back.
And then do you think it's possible that this was an FBI shooter in the window? Or do you think, is it possible that this
I'm
guy...
not going to, I mean, first of all, there's no way I can say yes other than, but it is not beyond the scope of reality that it could be.
Okay, Brooks, what are your thoughts on this? Did you know about this new development?
I knew about this, and what else leaked today, and this was leaked by an FBI agent inside the FBI. Turns out 90 minutes before the shooter took his first shot, the FBI agents on site were texting each other. They weren't talking on the phone. They were texting each other. And this guy released the text string. So not only did they know there was an active shooter on the premises, but they let Donald Trump stay on the stage for 90 minutes. They knew he was in the area. They were texting back and forth about it. When he was on the roof, they were texting each other right up to the moment he was shot. And by the way, the Secret Service was totally blank for 25 minutes. Not one single chirp from the Secret Service for 25 minutes.
And that's not possible if you are actively really trying to protect somebody, right?
Negative.
That is, boys. I mean that means they were in on it, does it not?
Yeah, and so they put together this commission, a Warren Commission 2.
Yeah,
six Republicans, 5 Democrats.
Yeah.
And yes, there are, former snipers on there. There are former Marines on there. But there's also a member of that commission who's a Republican who says, I don't trust this commission. I'm doing my own investigation. So there are already things breaking down as they're trying to cover everything up and bury everything and erase all these tests, fire all these people, get people resigned and out of the way. There are investigations to try to get to the bottom of it. And there are also the footage that you see right there. There are about 200 other cell phone videos that have yet to make it to our level. They're out there, but the FBI is confiscating them as fast as they come up.
Yeah, one of the guys said that my phone was confiscated and given back to me, and that some of that video is from a phone that was confiscated. He said his wasn't altered, but I guarantee you there are others that were. TV's Blake Wally, doesn't this all smack, including the commission, which there's some rhinos on there. And I there were a couple of congressmen who were snipers that were left off this committee that would be experts in this. Why would they be left off this committee? They should be the first guys. Doesn't it start to smack? Doesn't it stink a lot like the Warren Commission and the cover-up of the JFK assassination? TV's Blake Wally, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they are in charge of covering everything up and making it look legitimate to the people that aren't sophisticated enough to cut through the BS. So yeah, the plot is thickening. It's inexcusable. So it does appear to have all the hallmarks of an inside job and a failed assassination attempt. Google is even in on it. They should be complicit in this cover up. They need to find out this is not a mistake. So they need to find out who's involved in that. It's also Meta and their AI. So yeah, they're trying to even hide the information from people that are trying to look for it. So yeah, there's a lot of criminals that need to be held accountable in this awful operation that they overreached on.
they would definitely like to memory hole this whole thing. Okay, I have a little more video. This is from Health Ranger. What's his name?
Mike Adams.
Mike Adams. He's not super reliable. You know, a couple of years ago, he told me an asteroid was going to hit the Earth in September, but he has dug some stuff up. Here is a small clip of some footage from a guy that was, I guess, shooting the building where the sniper was on the roof.
Oop, wait a minute.
So I want you to pay attention to that. Could that be a shot coming from that window, gentlemen? And let's listen again. So
The muffled shot sounds like it came from the window.
And so that's what Mike Adams is saying, is that he thinks that was a suppressor fire. That was suppressor fire from the window.
Doesn't have to be. I mean, when you're inside a building and you fire a weapon, unless you're standing directly in front of the muzzle, it does sound sort of like a silenced round.
Mm. Do you
That's
think
that's why snipers, when they take positions, they don't stick the barrel out the window. They go back in the room a ways to take their shot.
Because it's a natural sound suppression. Okay. I don't know how many shots that was. 1, 2, 3.
8.
It was 8.
And then the 9th at the end.
Is that the official number of shots that were fired, or do we know? And did all 8 of those supposedly come from Crooks? I'm not up to date. Brooks, are you up to date on that?
I'm sort of up to date on it. There's been a lot of sound analysis done from several different locations around the Butler event, and they do sound like 2 separate weapons. But from that close, I can hear the sonic sound of the rounds, and they all sound the same to me.
Okay. Audio shows 2 shooters and 1 counter assault shot that hit Crooks. But I'm trying to get the exact number. First 3 shots at Trump, then 5 more shots, killing 1 person and injuring 2 more. Guys, again, I'm going to lean heavily on Brooks and Steve with this. What do you think the chances are that there were shots coming from 2 different places? And what do you think of that bright spot in the window? Is that a muzzle flash? What do you think, Brooks and Steve? What do you guys think?
It looks like a muzzle flash to me. I don't hear a sound report from it. That's what's got me kind of confused. But we do know now, it was revealed yesterday, what weapon Crooks used. Now, they call it an AR style weapon with a folding stock, but it is a particular weapon called a CT-15. It's a CT-15, and guess who designed it?
I have no idea. BlackRock?
Nope. Yeagle, this company out of Arizona. That's who designed the weapon. The weapon came, evidently, Crooks's father bought the weapon. It's a CT-15. It's very specific kind of folding stock. And it has, the reason they're not willing to tell us it's a CT-15 is it links back to the FBI's weapons supplier in Arizona.
Oh,
and the van that drove from Arizona and back to Arizona.
How does, if you're a counter sniper, Steve Doran?
Yes.
How does the target that you've been observing for 90 minutes we've now established that you are suspicious of, that there has been crosstalk and chatter about, and he's now seen on the roof, how does he get 8 or 9 shots off at the target before you shoot him put one through his ear hole? How does that happen?
You have to intentionally delay your shot.
Yep.
You want to elaborate on that, or
no? Well, I mean, you intentionally delay the shot, so you have to, anybody who would wait that long to take a shot is either A, under orders not to do it, or B, they're in on it and they're saying, hey, wait until until there's 4 or 5 shots off before you take your shot. One of the two.
Yeah. Let's go back. Let's go back to that audio again. It's short. I want to see if we can count the amount of time between the shots, or from the beginning of the shots to the end of the shots. So let's go back and listen to that again. I got almost 10 seconds. I got almost 10 seconds. Is that, Steve, is that in any way, shape, or form reasonable for
let's backtrack here a little bit and forget about the sniper. First of all, they knew that a potential shooter was on his way to the event. They knew that the potential shooter was on the grounds at the event. They were texting back and forth, talking about the individual. That guy should have never made it on the roof. He should have never made it on the property. So the fact that all of these people were aware that he was on his way, officials, law enforcement officials, I'll use that term loosely, and the fact that nobody secured the area and the facility to intercept them, the fact that he walked around, the fact that he walked on the property with a ladder is just absolutely ridiculous. And then should he have made the roof, which he shouldn't have, but should he have made it on the roof at that point, because they knew he was there, the sniper should have immediately taken the shot, regardless. Just as soon as he got on the roof, they should have hit him.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I know you were saying, you were defending the Secret Service and
FBI. I was defending. First of all, he wasn't Secret Service.
Or sorry, he was local police.
He was local police. Secondly, we didn't know at that time that he had all of that time.
Yeah.
Prior to him taking the shot. All we knew at the moment where I said that it's a possibility he was waiting for an order to shoot. I mean, that could have been seconds before the first shot came up, but now we know it's different. But at that time, we did not.
Yeah. Okay, Brooks. So, the main thing now, I guess, that I'm concerned about this is, and I completely just lost it, is, shouldn't they? Wait a minute. You were just saying something, Steve, and it was didn't click in my head. So they're saying that. Okay, I've lost it completely. Yeah, I'm going to go try to read. I had a question in my mind for Stephen Brooks, but Blake, let's go to you. I'm going to show you one other thing. There is a photograph. Some people are saying that's a hole in the window. I don't know how clearly you guys can see that. If that's, I don't know what kind of glass that would be, tempered glass. Does that look like it might be a rifle shot hole in a window, or would it have shattered the entire window?
I can't tell.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't get it any bigger than that. But.
Well, it's not like the movies. They don't always shatter the entire window. I mean, there's lots of crime scenes you come on, and there's holes in the window.
Yeah, that is apparently the window where we saw the muzzle flash. All right, so TV's Blake Wally. Let's talk to you about this. What do you think should happen to the Secret Service people? I mean, shouldn't these guys all be interrogated in public right now by Congress or somebody else?
They probably should. Now, I don't know exactly how many of those people were officially Secret Service. So now it's starting to look like we're painting the picture that this is the FBI. So if this gun allegedly comes from, as Brooks said, Arizona, where there's FBI weaponry or arsenal, I'm not quite sure if I followed that, but he was also practicing shooting in Arizona. Then they scrubbed his social media. They scrubbed people's phones that were trying to reach out to their friends at the FBI. Let's see. They also, his place was scrubbed clean like a medical lab, they say.
Yeah.
He was in a BlackRock commercial. And there's also other ties to the FBI. Apparently, they've done some of the geolocation on his phone, and he was back and forth from D.C. So this is all starting to look like Christopher Wray needs to be investigated after they already just had the Secret Service lady resign. So I think it's come for Ray now. He needs to be interrogated. And he also tried to brush it off like he didn't get shot in the ear. Like he's clearly biased.
Yeah, Ray said he wasn't, we're not sure he was hit by a bullet when everybody knows he was hit by a bullet in the ear. And so here's the thing. Trump has said he's going to sit down for an interview with the FBI. And everybody who's done that lately gets caught in a perjury trap. So, Blake, do you think that Trump should sit down with the FBI, or should he tell them to go fuck themselves?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tell him to go fuck themselves. Yeah, you can't trust Ray. And he's always playing stupid up on Capitol Hill, so he needs to go.
Yeah.
Can't fire him, and then go after him.
Dr. Brooks Agnew, do you think Trump should sit down for an interview with the FBI?
My advice, tell him to fuck off. I'll see you on the battlefield.
Okay. And Steve Doran, what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump should sit down for an interview with the FBI? I think you're just going to try to they're going to try to trap him into saying the wrong date. That's what they did to Michael Flynn. He said the wrong date. So they charged him with lying to the FBI. Isn't this a really high risk thing for Trump to do?
It doesn't matter if you're the president or, somebody from a local jurisdiction. There's one rule and one rule only, and that is you don't make statements ever. You can have your attorney make a statement, but you never, ever, ever make a statement.
Okay. All right. All right. So my response to this is this.
Go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself.
Okay, that's my response if I'm Donald Trump to
Right on.
FBI. All right, give me a second, guys. I gotta find one other thing here.
By the way, I just want to say that Blake nailed it again because they did surveil the cell phone addresses of all the people that visited little Tommy's home. And, there were various people, friends and stuff like that, except for one. One was an FBI agent. I made this statement the day of the shooting. You mark my words. The FBI knew of little Tommy, and they were working with him. I didn't have anything to base it on, but my gut. Now we know, because they took that cell phone address and they followed it where it went for the previous 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it went to that building that Blake mentioned, and guess who was going there? FBI informants. Ooh. That's where they meet and have coffee with the FBI and share their information. Little Tommy was working with the FBI.
Wow.
So why would Trump agree to this? Why do you think Trump is agreeing to this interview? Doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, let's face it. Trump likes to be in the spotlight. He likes to make his point known, if you will. But he really, if he doesn't take an attorney along and let his attorney do most of the talking, I mean, it's not a very intelligent thing to do. That's a fact.
Yeah, it seems like he's setting up for another big controversy. And I get so tired of, he's just exposing them. It's like, yeah, well, let's start beating them rather than
let us do that.
Yeah. All right. I got one other thing that happened that was pretty interesting is that there was a parody ad put out. It's a parody Kamswala Harris ad, Kamswala Horis. And let me just show it to you. It's pretty good. It's pretty amusing. And let's play it for everybody on this stream. Okay, there she is. There's the future, the first not black president of the United States.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. You think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, so that was the ad, the fake Kamswala Horace ad that was played by. It was actually retweeted by none other than Elon Musk, the guy who tweets, who owns Twitter and of course puts all this stuff out. And then there was Gavin Newsom put out a response on Twitter saying manipulating a voice. And first of all, I don't think they really manipulated a voice, but they used her actual voice, and they used some people doing maybe a little bit of an impersonation for a few of those words. But Gavin Newsom puts out, manipulating a voice in an ad like this one should be illegal. I'll be signing a bill in a matter of weeks to make sure it is. And Elon Musk responded, I checked with renowned world authority, Professor Sugon D's Nuts. And he said parody is legal in America. Dr. Sugon D's Nuts. Gentlemen, I think to say about this. Let's start. Blake, let's give you a shot at starting this particular one. What do you think about the feud between them? And the ad is very effective because it's mostly true, and most of that is actually her words, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I love it. And the gloves are off. Elon is not. Yeah, he's out to get everybody, I guess, at this point. So this is a personal thing, and it's great to see him. Yeah, go toe to toe and just call out Gavin Newsom like that. It's sophomoric, but it's hilarious, and I love the ad. And I think there's a positive side to using AI, and he's absolutely right. It's falls under parody. Anybody that's not a complete moron knows that that's just fake, but it's all in good humor and in good fun. So we'll look forward to seeing more of those and more of those great exchanges with Elon, whether it's telling the people to go fuck themselves or calling out Gavin Newsom on Twitter. It's great. So look forward to this historic election cycle.
I think it's something we see more often than not, or more. We need to see more of. Brooks, what did you think of the ad and the ongoing controversy?
I love it. I think it's just outstanding, and I really think that the real Kabbalah Harris has better stuff than that. Just listen to her regular. That's why they're trying to scrub all her old speeches. She went to a law school that was ranked 87th in a field of 150 law schools, and she took the bar exam and failed, and ended up as attorney general out of sexual favors with Willie Brown in California. And then she ran for Senate unopposed. There was no Republican candidate that ran against her. So that's how she ended up in the Senate. She's never actually won anything. And you listen to her talk, listen to her speeches. They're not parodies. They're real. This woman is a dumbass.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Steve Doran, any thoughts on this particular controversy?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's extremely juvenile and inappropriate. And it's pretty much exactly like this show. So it kind of falls right into place with what we're doing.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Okay,
And as far as Harris is concerned, I mean, they don't have to make anything up to make her look bad. All she has to do is open her mouth.
yeah.
Yeah, when she goes off script, it's an adventure. It's great.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
even AOC had a really, really good speechwriter from India who actually worked for Barack Obama. And, she won against a 10-term Democrat in the Bronx. So somebody can write Kabbalah, good speeches. They'll play them. I mean, Google will make sure they're front and center everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you gotta be smart enough to follow the script.
Yeah, and not
That's
cackle.
the problem. That's the problem.
Now, the other thing that's happening is they're trying to claim that Harris has got some big surge, and they had a white guys for Kumswala Horus thing on Zoom last night or something. It was just absolute cringe. They had people like Mark Hamill on. Hey, Mark, I have 2 words to say to you. And those 2 words are Tom Hulse. Okay, Tom Hulse. And she had a rally yesterday in Pennsylvania, and gosh, guys, looks to me like, I don't know, 60, 70 people showed up. Here's her Pennsylvania rally in the gym.
There to have a full court basketball game without running into people.
Look at how many Secret Service agents are there, though.
Yeah, look at all those people. Now, to be fair, there was another rally today in Georgia, and let's not go over some of that stuff. We're going to get to that in a little bit. She had another rally today in Georgia. Where is this in my likes and replies? Where is it not in there? Let me go back to my replies. I'm pretty sure we had some footage. There you are, Blake, making yourself famous. Damn it. Okay, so there's she had a rally, and there were more people there, but there was a rapper who I've never heard of. By the way, Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly, astronaut, is a Nazi-loving piece of shit who stole his Senate seat with massive voter fraud. Just thought I'd let you know that. Okay, I got to look for this. But apparently Harris had quite a few more people at her rally today. Let's just do this. Harris rally. And they all got up and left because they were there to see the rapper. Once the rapper was gone, everybody started leaving. There's more people leaving. Hey, come swallow. Okay, so all of this is built around this idea that somehow there's some sort of surge for Kumswala. Here, let me turn some sort of surge for Kumswala, and yet there is a problem. The problem is there are some actual real pollsters out there like Scott Rasmussen, who did a poll of independents only, and in the independents only poll, Donald Trump sits at 53%. Kamala Harris sits at 33%. Someone else is 9%, not sure, is 5%. That is absolutely devastating. And what that means is that Donald Trump is absolutely crushing Kamala Harris in the real polls. All the other polls are fake. Steve, do you think they're going to keep up this crap, trying to make it seem like she's surging and everybody's flocking to her? And why would they? For no fucking reason. Or
Well,
do
they're going to do it. I mean, absolutely. Donald Trump they're going to continue to attack. He's going to be the Antichrist, whatever. And they are going to continuously pump this stuff out to the American people on a daily basis. We had a conversation and where I was literally the day before, I was watching even the Democrats tear Kamala Harris to pieces. And then the next morning I get up and I see this poll on Fox News that she's neck and neck with Donald Trump. I mean, what a bunch of baloney. And they continue it on a daily basis.
Yep, they do. Hang on, Brooks. Let me put that in. Okay, Brooks, what are your thoughts on this ongoing? I mean, look, the reality is Rasmussen is probably far more accurate than certainly Fox News polls. They're all fake because they're Trump haters and they're not conservative. So, what do you think about the fact that he's up 20 points and over 50% with independents?
Well, you're going to see all this kind of election interference up until Labor Day. Labor Day is when the election actually begins. Officially, it begins. That's when Congress comes back. That's when all the war chests are open up and all the money gets dumped in. So you're going to continue to see President Trump draw 40, 50, 60,000 people to a rally, 40, 50, 80,000 people being watching it live online. And by the way, people all over the world are watching these things. And you're going to continue to see the Democrat Party collapse. We're not only witnessing the end of the Harris-Biden cabal, we're seeing the end and the bankruptcy of the DNC. And this is actually a very dangerous place to be, because once Trump is elected on November 5th, between them and January whatever, when he's inaugurated, we're in a very dangerous zone. Like, we're in the most dangerous zone that this country has ever been in, because Trump doesn't have authority yet, but he's elected. So everybody knows what's coming. All these executive orders and these phone calls to world leaders to stop the wars. And that's what they don't want. And they will do anything, including a false flag with a nuclear weapon, to stop that from happening. It's a dangerous place to be.
Yep. I agree. TV's Mike Wally, what are your thoughts on the fake polls and the real polls? And do you get any, I mean, are you one of these guys? Were you on that White Guys for Harris call last night? And did you give your testimonial about how you were in a Taco Bell men's room and you said, yeah, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, and all the guys said, yeah, come on. That happened to you, right? That was your story, right?
No, not this time. No, no, this is embarrassing. It's a big AstroTurf campaign. They're trying to prop her up like this. She was their first choice. It's somebody they're stuck with, and they're trying to act like there's all this support behind the scenes when it was just selected by the DNC for everybody, and now they're just going to have to run with fake polls, doctored polls and celebrity endorsements. But yeah, it shows it's pretty funny if they're as soon as people want to see the rapper and they don't care about the candidate at all. So there was nothing, but until Biden dropped out, now they're scrambling. But still, I would like to see hopefully RFK Jr. at some point team up with Trump and put him over the edge, and then there's no way that they can rig this thing. Hopefully, but as Brooks is saying, even if Trump wins and you're in that lame duck process, they will do any number of things to try to prevent anything from happening. A peaceful transfer of power. It's going to get really bad.
Well, I mean, and again, let's get back to, do you think we make it to an election in November? Brooks doesn't think so. Brooks?
Continuity of government, we were kind of leaning on that, during the first couple of years of the Trump presidency in exile. Now continuity of government is leaning toward the global syndicate. They're the ones that stand in the bleachers or in the sidelines, ready to take over these congressional seats. By the way, and I'd like to hear Steve's input on this. Over the weekend, there were 6,000 federal marshals in D.C. Now, as far as I know, there wasn't a federal marshal convention. Why were they in D.C.? Are they still there? And are they empowered to arrest people once Congress goes into recess?
They are empowered. The nice thing about the U.S. Marshals is that they can enforce any law, local, county, state, federal, any law that's on the books, they can enforce it. Again, I know several U.S. Marshals. Nobody mentioned that there was any kind of convention going on there. And they would be the group once people are indicted to make the arrest. So let's see what happens. That would be great.
Brooks, is that verified? Because my impression was that there was no evidence of that. That I know Kelly Marie Brady went around Nancy Drew and didn't see any fences. Is that actually verified that there were that many marshals in DC this weekend?
Well, I have two sources. One of them is pretty reliable. The other one can be kind of a clickbait monster. But the fact that these federal marshals were in D.C. means something is up. Somebody is in charge of the federal marshals that's not a member of the global syndicate. The marshals are kind of a loose cannon.
Well, the nice thing about marshals, they are appointed by the president. All right, so you got marshals, U.S. marshals, and then you got deputy marshals. Typically, presidents don't change them out when they come into office. They typically leave them there. So if the guy's a good guy when he went in, regardless of the administration, he's typically still a good guy.
Okay. We're going to get to Venezuela in a second, but what I wanted to share with you now is something that we need to be very afraid of in the United States. Kamala Harris apparently today was asked about guns, and this is what she said. It's not easy to hear, but let's listen to what she said.
Adding to your gun control agenda?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but I mean, listen, I don't think we lack for great ideas. As I've said many times, we've been having great ideas for decades. The problem is that Congress has not had the courage to act. And that is why, from the beginning, I have said, my agenda includes attempting to get Congress to act, but if they don't within the first 100 days of my administration, I'm going to take executive action. Because what we need is action.
Adding to your gun control agenda?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but I mean, listen.
So she was asked specifically about gun control, and she said she would initiate gun control by executive action within the first 100 days to disarm the American population. Blake, any thoughts about that? And isn't this instantly disqualifying as her to be president?
It should. Yeah, executive actions, that's very terrifying. So, yeah, come and take it. I don't know what she's going to plan on doing. I mean, some of these guys have mentioned these sorts of things in the past, and then they kind of settle down after a while. It sounds good for the voting base, but they don't actually follow through. But it is their dream at some point to have us completely disarmed. Then they can just run over us. That's the ultimate goal. So we have to be vigilant about that.
Like they've done to the people in Australia. Steve, I can't say what I want to say here, but I think Kamala Harris should find out about why Americans are supposed to have guns after making that statement. Isn't this completely disqualifying as a presidential candidate?
Absolutely. And I mean, let's face reality. There's not even crazy Joe Biden wasn't crazy enough to try to pull that stunt. First of all, you have to have people who are willing to go out and take the guns, which is an impossibility. There's not one local jurisdiction, one county or state jurisdiction, except maybe in like the People's Republic of Massachusetts and Maryland and those areas, who are willing to go out because you are so outnumbered. You're like the three wagons in a Western movie that are surrounded by 6 nations of Indians. I mean, it's just not going to happen, because as soon as you start to try to do something like that, word's going to get out instantaneously, and the firepower that you're going to meet as you move down the street is just going to completely annihilate anybody who would try to do that.
Okay, Brooks, what are your thoughts on this? Isn't this instantly disqualifying, really?
Well, I think they had a national sheriff's meeting, and I think there were only like 2 or 3 sheriffs that said that they would enforce such a law. But you have to think also that executive orders typically do not apply to citizens. They only apply to agencies of the government, both state and federal. So I think what she was mentioning is what's called a mandatory gun buyback program, which is basically we're going to pay you for your gun at the point of a gun. And Steve is exactly right. That's not going to go very far. They tried it in Virginia when Youngkin was running for governor, and it was resoundingly defeated. In fact, lots of Second Amendment guys showed up armed in body armor at the Capitol, and they were marching around totally legal. But their presence was so overpowering that the measure failed.
Well, I mean, not that New Zealand is the United States, but they tried it in New Zealand and nobody turned anything in. And so now they repealed the law because everybody in that whole country's a felon. So they had to change the law back to the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is no laughing matter. This is really their agenda. If I was Trump, I would be exposing this like all over the place in every border state, in every swing state, and really emphasizing, look, this woman is a dictatorial lunatic commie who's going to take your guns, and there's no question about that. And why it's relevant is because in Venezuela they don't have any guns. They also had an election on Saturday night. It was won by the opposition candidate in a massive landslide, just like Donald Trump won in 2020, just like Marine Le Pen probably really won in France. And it was stolen in the dark of night by Maduro, again, with the exact same type of curves of where all these fake votes were put in for Maduro, the communist candidate. And now what's happening in Venezuela is the people are not real happy about it, and they've taken to the streets. They've taken to the streets, and this is what it looks like. So one of the other things that happened is that Maduro called on the military to back him and to start arresting their own people, and they didn't, and a lot of them took their uniforms off, which I don't approve of. They shouldn't have. They should have stayed in uniform and said the military is not supporting this commie bastard. But what happened today is that apparently Maduro had the opposition candidate arrested earlier today. And without a government like the United States getting behind this movement to support it, Brooks, isn't it destined to just be suppressed and crushed under the power of the World Economic Forum and the commies?
It is. And by the way, Maduro's opponent won with 71% of the vote. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Wasn't even close. So this is obviously, electronic ballot stuffing. And unless The Hague and other nations, NATO, whatever it takes, needs to step in and say, this isn't happening. Maduro, you were voted out by the people, take your licks and see in 4 years. But that's how Venezuela went from the richest nation in South America to the poorest, just like this.
So
and that's exactly what's going to happen to the U.S.
The same thing happened in Brazil, where Bolsonaro clearly won that election. It was stolen by the commie candidate there. Nobody stood up. Nobody came out. And my question, I guess, for you, Blake, is where is Donald Trump on this? Why isn't Trump coming out and saying the United States needs to stand with the people of Venezuela who clearly voted this guy out, and we need to send our military in if we have to support these people and arrest this fucker Maduro? But he's not doing anything. He's just hasn't said a word about Venezuela. Don't we need a populist revolt to overthrow a communist government somewhere in the world to serve as an example for what probably has to happen here in the United States when they try to impose communism in the next couple months?
Yeah, in that ideal world, we were supposed to be the good guys, and we were supposed to protect, innocent people that were being crushed by these awful dictators around the globe. So we should be able to step in and be the good guys. Unfortunately, our country's been taken over, and I'm having, trouble even sorting out what is exactly happening in Venezuela. And it would be nice somewhere if we could just figure out like a voting system that can work for everybody and be transparent and easily auditable, if that's even a word. But of course, a lot of these dictators and such are just hungry for power, and that's the last thing they want. So they do everything possible to rig these elections. And we saw what happened here in 2020. with all the mail-in ballot, and you couldn't canvass, you couldn't. They never conducted a full audit, almost in Arizona, but they still couldn't get all the Dominion machinery. There's just so many tricks these days, so it's really sad. This whole civilization, this entire planet's got its own problems with this.
And Patco Incorporated, how much fucking more do we have to see? We've seen what's happened to our own country. We saw what happened in Brazil. Now we're seeing it in Venezuela. He wants us to see what happens there. Get off your dead ass and start doing something. I mean, he should at least be out there defending the opposition candidate and saying clearly the president, this guy won and he's the real president. And when I'm president, I'm going to recognize him as the official government of Venezuela, not the Maduro government. Steve, am I wrong for thinking that?
No, especially with the voter fraud that took place. We got to get away from the electronic age when it comes to voting. I don't care if it takes 2 weeks to count the ballots. I don't like anything electronic involved because it can be manipulated, as we saw in the last election. So at the very least, he should be coming out against the use of electronics to put dictators in place.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Why? Anybody have any thoughts or why hasn't Trump said a goddamn thing about Venezuela? Why? Anybody have a thought on that?
No? I don't. Maybe he needs more information, but his rallies are his platform. So look for it in the coming weeks. I don't know. Okay, well, one last thing here. The Democrats tried a new meme war this week, and the left can't be. They're really bad at it. They tried to go after Trump's vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, because he said crazy. It's said in 2021, before he was the vice presidential candidate, that the country is being run by crazy cat ladies, which it is. And if that isn't Kamala Harris, I don't know what it is. By the way, Kamala, your husband is gay. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows he likes to butt fuck. He's not, you don't have any real kids. You're childless. Here's a childless woman making decisions about wants to make decisions about the American family. Okay, great. But they came out with this thing where they all said in unison, J.D. Vance is weird. J.D. Vance is weird. This guy is weird. So the right, of course, counter meme. And one of my favorite leftist retards out there is George Takei, Mr. Sulu from Star Trek. So he posted on Twitter the other day, oh, J.D. Vance is weird. Well, guess who got him back on? No.
There's George, gay boy that he is, on probably the Howard Stern show. Yeah, J.D. Vance is weird. But this, of course, George, is completely normal, right?
Is that real?
Yeah, that's real. That's from the Howard Stern show. And then we have Pete Buttplug, the Secretary of Transportation. J.D. Vance is weird, says Pete Buttplug. Oh yeah, but this is completely normal, completely normal. So anyway, what happened was basically is that the right absolutely crushed that J.D. Vance's weird meme thing that got started. I was just wondering, Blake, you're my cultural commentator. Did you see that yesterday? And they pretty much have given up on, being called weird by Chuck Schumer, who puts cheese on a raw hamburger and is married to a dude, is pretty ripe stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it actually made a supercut of it. So it's like the DNC hands out the talking points, and then you had basically the who's who of the leftist media. I'll try to pull it up if I can, and including Kamala, like that was their talking point of the day. It's weird. The MAGA is weird, or Vance is weird, and then it was interesting to see them point out the freak show that we've seen through the Biden administration. They have the audacity to say anything is weird without looking in the mirror at their own people. But I think that's all I have. Oh yeah, because they ran the Joe Biden is sharp as a tack before the debate. So it's weird how they have these buzzwords that they follow like zombies.
Yeah. And everybody can see what's going on. Everybody that's paying attention. I guess they're just trying to catch the dumb little old people that are sitting in front of their TVs going, "Well, Martha, that's pretty odd. Why did he say that?" Is anybody named Martha anymore? I don't know. Steve Doran, Trail Boss, I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
ask you one question. If you and I were roommates in a Turkish prison for 10 years, would you ever do that for me, what George Takei was doing for those two guys?
Absolutely not. Never.
No homo. No, never. Okay. Any thoughts on this ridiculous failed campaign slogan thing, Brooks?
I'm looking forward to more entertaining moments from this one as long as Kabbalah lasts. I think there are replacements on the way. Look for the name Roy Cooper in the coming weeks. He is currently the governor of North Carolina in a supermajority Republican state with a supermajority in the House and the Senate, and he was elected twice. So look for Roy Cooper. He's kind of a Democrat superstar. He's an excellent liar. He looks good on camera, and he could come up as Kamala's VP.
I thought Cooper had dropped out today. Is that not true?
I don't know. I mean,
I'll look it up while we discuss this.
I've been letting drywall all week, so I haven't really listened to the news.
All right. Well, JD Vance is weird. Also, the left. This collection of fucking freaks. I mean, have we just reached, have we reached, I guess, definitely in post-Christian America? Because the freak show that happened at the Olympics, the gay satanic Olympics, upset quite a few Americans, but there were, believe it or not, it was Roy Cooper said he's not going to run with her. So did Manchin, so did a few other people. So that did happen. Isn't this now, gentlemen, a war of good versus evil? It's no longer left versus right. Blake, isn't it good versus evil? Isn't that stuff that you just isn't it evil to be pushing that kind of stuff on kids?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not even like a religious guy, but this does seem like it is a good and evil, right versus wrong world that we live in right now. So, and the Democrats are clearly not on the good guys anymore.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys one more thing, which is Joe Biden came out and said some things a couple days ago about the Supreme Court, where he basically called for it to be expanded so they could reduce the influence of the conservative Supreme Court, of the conservatives on the Supreme Court. Let's listen to Glenn Beck's commentary on this just real quick. Here we go.
I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy. Supreme Court reform.
Reform the Supreme Court. This is anti-republic and anti-democratic. This is exactly what FDR tried to do in the 1940s and failed. And hopefully he will fail again. The Supreme Court is actually shrinking the size of the federal government and returning the power closer to you, to the state level. Everything they have done in the last 2 years is to do that. Return the power to you, the voter. They don't like that. And quite honestly, it's because they do believe that they know better than the average American.
Okay, so there's another issue with this, and this is the one I want to address. First of all, with Steve. Steve, if you went to school when we did and Brooks did, you know some things about our government. There are 3 co-equal branches of government: the Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidency, and they are co-equal and equally powerful. That's the idea, is that they are balanced two against the other. There literally isn't, literally Joe Biden cannot do anything to alter the makeup of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, if you dilute the Supreme Court, if you add more members to it, you dilute its power. That in of itself is a violation of the Constitution, isn't it?
Correct. I mean, it would have to be a constitutional change to make any type of a change. The only thing I can think he's referring to is he wants to stack it. Like as these older justices leave, he wants to put new liberal judges in place because, I mean, legally, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, because what they're, the thing is that what they're trying to do is pass a federal law to change the Constitution of the Supreme Court. And by that, I mean Constitution with small c, to change the makeup of the Supreme Court. And you cannot do that, can you, Brooks?
And then the Supreme Court would have to look at the new
Whether
law.
Constitutional, that law was constitutional, which it clearly
Right.
is. So, Brooks, can they do that or not?
Well, there are two things that they want to do. The first one is, under this reform, is they want to put a maximum age. So you serve to this age and then you're forced to retire. So you can't just hang out and wait for a Republican president like Thomas and Alito are doing and wait to retire. The second one is what's called packing the court. So we go from 9 justices to 17 or 23 or 27, 28. Probably an odd number. And the reason they're doing this, the reason they're giving for doing this, is that the court is overworked. There are just too many cases that need to be reviewed by the Supreme Court. There's not enough room on the docket because we only have 9 justices. So we're going to put on more justices, 17 justices. And then what the Chief Justice will do is he'll decide which team of 9 or 5 or whatever that law or that case goes to, so they can get the results that they want. That's what they're talking about doing. They can't do anything about the court right now. There are 5 conservative justices, 4 liberal justices, and that's about to change too, because if Trump is elected, he'll put 2 more justices on there. Sotomayor will probably retire, so that may be 3 more. So gosh, the court will be so lopsided, the Democrats will never get control again. So they have to do something or die. They're not going to be able to get their liberal activist decisions made in the Supreme Court unless they get control of the Supreme Court. And the only way they can do that is to control the Senate. Well, they're not going to control the Senate. So now they have to change the makeup of the Supreme Court.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the Senate has certainly passed enough fucking libtard, commie, wacko hose beasts onto the Supreme Court, like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's okay with pedophiles. They pass them anyway. So the Senate is not. The Senate is not our wall. There is no senatorial wall. They cave on everything because they're part of the swamp. So what we have to have is a strong leader who wins the election. And the thing is, here's what I don't know. Blake, did you have some thoughts on this before I went to the next thing I was going to rant about?
Well, at one level, I'm for some kind of a reform, but not in the way they're doing it. And if they're going to make, term limits for justices, then they need to make term limits for Congress. There's, many things that we could, redo again. But this is obviously a purely political maneuver. They're mad that they don't control the Supreme Court. If it was 5 or 6 liberal justices, then they would never bring this stuff up. So they're trashing the republic, which is a system of checks and balances, and they want their democracy majority rule.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't it say in the Constitution that Supreme Court appointments are for life? Doesn't it say that explicitly?
It does.
Yeah.
And fuck them. They can't do a fucking thing. Well, legally they cannot do a fucking thing, but they will try to pass some through. Steve, any further thoughts on this before I get to my final rant of the night?
No, sir. Continue.
All right. So, to me, the problem here is that we still are living in pretend land. We're still living in Wonderland. We're still pretending. Trump is still pretending like, oh, I'm going to cooperate with the FBI when he should be saying, fuck the FBI. And we're still living in this fantasy of politics and polls. And when, if I'm JD Vance, when a crazy cat lady like Kamala Harris comes out and says, JD Vance is really weird, I would say back, what was your husband doing hanging out with a bunch of gay dudes in a bar? He was at some gay rally with gay people hanging around, and some of his best friends are gay. He's obviously gay. They don't have any kids. When are we going to get out of this fakery and start addressing things directly? Chuck Schumer, You say I'm weird? Well, you know what? You know what, Chuck? I'm not married to a dude. You are. Here's his picture. Now, when are we going to get to that point? Are we going to get to that point before November? That's a better question. Where people start finally saying the truth. You know, Chuck Schumer, you're a fucking weirdo. You're married to a guy who's pretending to be a girl. So is Barack Obama. When is some politician going to come out and say what everybody knows? Any thoughts?
Never. You're only going to get information like that on shows like this. They're never ever going to do it. That's right.
Yeah.
Because it's not in their political interest. Like I told you, when I used to testify before Congress, in the morning you would have somebody sitting there, oh, Steve, you're the most wonderful guy I've ever met. Man, you are like Superman. And, you know, we love you. And then in the afternoon, I was the Antichrist. And they'd be like, how do we know you're not corrupt? Blah, 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 blah. They're all bought and paid for, dude. They're all bought and paid for. So, you know, 1 minute they're going to say one thing, but they're never going to cross a line that they can't come back from, ever.
So, do you agree with that, Blake?
No, I mean, yeah, it's like the emperor wears no clothes, and we're just trying to call it out, but nobody's saying anything. So we just continue to go along with this charade. But as we're saying, yeah, I guess it's up to guys like us to call it out.
Yeah. And Brooks, do you think there's going to be any real upheaval of the political system this year in America?
Yeah, well, I do, because the Re-Inhabit the Republic movement took a major step forward about 70 days ago. They are now appointing representatives in all 50 states, judges and assemblymen. And once the Re-Inhabit the Republic is fully staffed with standby citizens in these positions, they're going to move for a transition from the bankrupt 1871 corporation back to the 1870 republic, the original republic. And the real risk is this going to be a peaceful transition with respect to law enforcement? I think the public will go along with it. And there are a lot of people that serve in state government and city government that will go along with it. But it matters. What matters is, what are the men with the badges going to do? Are they going to stand with the Constitution, or are they going to stand with the global syndicate? That remains to be seen.
Okay.
Well, the people with the badges won't have any choice if the general public goes along with it, because if they don't follow along, they're in deep trouble.
They won't survive.
No.
So, yes or no? Major political upheaval. Like, I'm talking upheaval to the point that political candidates and news people come out and say, yeah, Chuck Schumer's married to a dude. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about upheaval. Or do we have the same mendacious system in place after November that we have today? Let's just go around that. Steve, yes, no?
Yes.
Blake, yes or no?
I'll go yes. Why not? All right.
Okay. Brooks, yes or no? Is it going to stay?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a total revolt, because
so you think so you say no, it's not going to stay the same.
it's not going to stay the same, because the mainstream media, which is us, are now informing the people, which we have way more viewers than the fake stream media does, way more. And we're the ones that are outing this. So, yeah, I think there will be an upheaval, like a Bob Menendez upheaval, and these people are going to go to jail or be removed from office.
So you think at some point somebody in political circles is going to say, look, let's face it, we all know we're going to have that Joan Rivers moment. We all know Big Mike is a tranny. That's going to happen.
Sure. All
right. We're 2-2. I don't know what to think. I'm upset that it's not. I'm concerned it's not going to happen, but I am going to say it will. So 2-2. Those two guys down there are maybe going to be smarter than these two guys up here. We shall see. We shall see what happens. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. I have no plans to do a show tomorrow unless something happens on the financial side of things. If the stock market collapses overnight or something like that, I'll probably be on to talk about what could potentially be going on there. But as it stands now, I'm not going to be doing anything tomorrow except Whiskey and Wisdom with the original Mark Z. at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, which is where we kind of do what we do here, which is sit around and have a few drinks and talk about what's going on. I will have bad dating advice. Mike Bear's bad dating advice. Dating advice for this week is not bad, it's good, which is stay away from the women over 40, okay? It's more hassle than it's worth. Invest your energy in the young girls, even if it's a longer shot. It's worth it. Go young, guys. Go young, because they don't have as much baggage. They're easier to deal with. They're more fun. They just relax and want to have fun. And I wish you older ladies could get into that spirit of that. So that's my bad dating advice for tomorrow. We shall be back next Tuesday. Everybody was saying, oh, this is going to be a really big week. Well, not so far, other than Brazil. Peace, live long, and prosper. Smoke them if you got them, and have scotch. And we will see you next Tuesday.